Hello, and welcome to the Wade Borth Podcast. I'm your host, Wade Borth, and in every episode, my goal is to get you to think differently about how money works and ultimately to empower you to take control of your money and your personal financing system. Okay, so I was visiting with a group of people the other day, and the subject retirement comes up, and it's funny how the closer you get to that magical age, the more the conversation becomes around retirement. And what I found interesting is there seems to be two different groups of people in that look at retirement, right? Those that are retiring from something and those that are retiring to something. And I know it sounds very, strange to have that discussion. What do you mean retiring to something? But I would say the majority of the people are retiring from their job because they hate the situation they're in, they're tired, they're bored with it, whatever the case might be. And that's retiring from a position where I think it's healthy, and it's probably much better to your health and to your mindset if you can say, I'm going to retire to something. And all we're saying there is, what are we doing to empower ourselves to be in a better position going forward? What is it that, if I have enough money and I have enough time, that I can fulfill my purpose? And that's really retiring to something. And if you enter retirement with this, I'm just going to retire from a job or from what I've been doing for the last 30 years, and you weren't happy with it, and you have no future purpose to go forward, the issue is that people aren't meant to not work. They're not designed to be, quote unquote, taken out of service. And that's what retirement means, is be taken out of service. So we have to have a bigger purpose. So we aren't taken out of service. We're just retooling what we're doing. And so part of where our philosophy at Sage Wealth is that we want to help you, we want to empower you to understand that. And so we're not going away from a job or a previous career, but we have the ability now, we have the freedom of money and the freedom of time to fulfill that freedom of purpose that we're looking for at retirement. And that just means, what are we doing to take our mind and to move it to a different direction and just think a little differently about what is it now that I'm going to serve, or who am I going to serve? If it's volunteer work, if it's service to my relationship with my spouse or my family, because now we can spend more time together, whatever that might be. But it has to be a different mindset. And part of that, from a financial standpoint, is do we have that freedom of money to be able to do it? And a lot of that conversation comes around. Basically, it's the scarcity mindset, right? Again, people that closer they get to retirement, they have this huge fear of running out of money, which again makes sense, right? We've traded time, our most valuable asset, for money all our lives. Now we have to turn around and say, now we have to live off that money that we have in reserve. And so the scarcity mindset kicks in. But if we're doing the proper planning and we're not dependent on market outcome, we're saying, hey, we're going to get a guaranteed flow of income to us. So now it gives us that ability to go spend time building our relationships or fulfilling our purpose. Then it's not an issue, right? And so that's the first thing that we're concerned about. Interest rates. Now, where interest rates have been going lately, it's been crazy. But are we a slave to the interest rates and to the taxes and to the market outcome when we retire? Well, kind of are. We have to look and say, where's interest rates and where's inflation? So what are we doing? How have we planned to address that issue as well? If we can have certain things in place that we don't have to worry about running out of money. Imagine the freedom of money that would give you the ability to have that relationship with your family. If every first, second, or third of the month you wake up with a check in your mailbox, in your checking account, money in your checking account. Now you can retire to something that can fulfill that purpose. And taxes, right? Are we slaves to the taxes and we're letting the tax tail wag the dog? This is a conversation maybe we should be having when we're 30 versus when we're 60, but usually the conversation comes up when we're 60. But let's have a conversation around that. What are we doing to minimize our taxes, have the most tax efficient way to get out our dollars? And so those are the three things, right? So if we want to find that purpose of retiring to something, we have to have freedom of money and time and relationship to be able to fulfill that purpose. And so what are we doing to address, where the interest rates are and what that might be, right? We don't want to have that scarcity mindset because those things are weighing on our thought process. Again, when we retire to something, that means that you're willing to embrace change in your life. And you want that change because you want more fulfillment than you're getting currently in your current position. I'm not a big believer in retiring from anything. I don't ever want to retire. I love what I do, but I'm going to embrace change because what's going to happen is I want to do more rather than do less when we get into our older years. And that's my purpose, right? So we want to empower you to do the same thing. So if you want to learn more about the mindset and more about the strategies, give us a call. We'd love to have that conversation with people because we want to see fulfillment in all those people that we work with. If you're enjoying this podcast or know anyone else that might be interested, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and please leave a review. This will help this podcast reach and help more people by ranking higher in searches and ultimately help more people get out of financial bondage. And don't be afraid to share this podcast with your friends and family, as we can be easily found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.